is a joint process. We briefly touched upon the issue of involving stakeholders from the start of the evaluation to ensure ownership, to promote usefulness, to promote institutional strengthening, and so on. And here, this is what we want to emphasize, that planning should not be something which is done in isolation by the monitoring and evaluation correspondent or focal point. Names depend on the delegations and the units, but it is a joint process. The plan should be discussed with the operational managers. If you're planning an evaluation of a project, you want to make sure that you involve in that decision the person who is managing that project. Now, that person might be sitting in the room next to you or might be sitting in a different delegation or unit, but it's very important that you discuss with this person and you find the time to do so. You have to discuss this with the head of corporation or your head of unit. Why? Because there has to be ownership within the whole unit. Let's say you, as a monitoring and evaluation correspondent, draft this wonderful evaluation plan, and then for whatever reason, you move to another unit, to another delegation. If you are the only owner of that plan, then nobody will carry out the evaluations. On the other hand, if the head of corporation, head of unit, your colleagues are aware of this, are aware of the importance of this, then there will be someone who will step in on time rather than just take this as sort of the bottom of the list of things to do. Involve your finance and contracts colleagues. Why? Well, first of all, you have to find out if the evaluation is compulsory or not, because depending on whether it is useful, whether you prioritize or not, you might then decide that evaluation is not so useful. So if you don't have to, if you don't have an obligation, then maybe you might not carry it out and give priority to something else. But you also have to make sure that there is a budget to finance that evaluation. And finally, or last but not least, you have to involve other relevant stakeholders. And here we just mentioned in national local counterparts, implementing partners, and other donors. But probably if you think about it, you can come up with other relevant stakeholders. And why is this? Again, we said it before, the evaluation should be useful. Useful certainly for yourself, for your unit, to inform future programming, to learn from the past, but useful also for other people. So implementing partners, national local counterparts, other donors. When you define your evaluation plan, there are a number of steps you have to carry out. And this will then lead to a sort of table, well, not a sort, a table, which can be in Excel or can be in Word, but it will be a table in which you define who has the institutional responsibility for the evaluation, so for launching and managing the evaluation. You will have to identify what to evaluate. And by what to evaluate, we mean not only the project or program or cluster of projects that you want to evaluate, but also what is the focus of that evaluation. You will have to determine the evaluation type. If you will want to carry a midterm evaluation, a final evaluation, an ex post evaluation, and don't worry, we will discuss this later on. And the available resources. What kind of budget can we rely on to carry out these evaluations? And it's important that this is done when you have the evaluation plan, because if you have a pot of money, then you might want to decide to give more resources to one evaluation rather than another, unless, of course, you have an obligation to use given amounts for one evaluation and cannot shift that. You have to schedule evaluations. You have to make sure that you're not planning to launch all evaluations at the same time, on the one hand, but you also have to make sure that when you launch an evaluation, you think about the whole timing process so that you will get the final report at a time which is useful for you to inform future programming or to include lessons learned in current work. The evaluation plan will have to be agreed with key stakeholders. We said it before, the importance of a joint process, and that will ensure buy-in, ownership, participation. You have to publicize the plan, so disseminate the plan, and then, of course, manage it.